This Monday.com ad was created by a team of people and AI agents. The agents wrote the copy and managed the timelines, while our human creative director made sure it all made sense. Easy. Create your own AI agent today on Monday.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, 0 tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Welcome back to the Ballet Help Desk podcast. My name's Jenny, and I'm joined by my co-founder, Brett. Today, we are super excited to bring you a 2-part parent panel about full-time training. We have spent a lot of time talking to so many different schools about their programs, and now we're flipping the perspective and talking to parents about their dancers' actual experience at 3 schools: School of American Ballet, Houston, and National Ballet School of Canada. So without further ado, the help desk is now open. This is part 2 of our parent panel of full-time training, so we're going to jump right into the episode.
Summer intensives are coming fast, and we just published our Summer Intensive Essentials Guide over on our website. We focused on products dancers really rely on, the things that set them up for an incredible summer. Everything in it has been used by real dancers at real programs, and wherever we could, we made a point to include products from dance-run businesses because we love supporting people who are building something in this industry. And don't forget to pick up our very own corrections journal to help you have an amazing summer. Some of these links are affiliate links, so shopping through our guide is a great way to support the show at no extra cost to you. You'll find the links in our show notes or head over to our website, ballethelpdesk.com. So let's talk a little bit about surprises. Like, what caught you off guard about sending your kid to full-time training and live away full-time training? Sarah, why don't we start with you?
I don't think anything really, since she'd gone there, but full-time training is different than the summer, like I said. I think what surprised me, I guess, if there was anything that was that caught me off guard, was how which maybe this is something for people to think about too, just this did catch me off guard. And I think it's after, the years, I think it's a lot more common than people realize. Is she walked in and her confidence took a major dive. It was all of a sudden she's in this class where everybody's just as committed as her and just as hardworking, like everybody, not just like the few, like all of them. And it was really easy to compare herself to them, to overthink comments from the teachers, to overthink casting, all of these things. And the self-doubt she had her first few months there, I didn't really see coming. So that was probably the biggest surprise. And she's learned that. Like, she knows that now. Like, she's learned a lot and matured a lot. And she knows everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses. Like, she's learned all these things over time. But when she was 15 and first walking in there, that was something that she wasn't mentally prepared for. She hadn't ever really experienced that self-doubt before. And it wasn't anything the teachers said or did. It was just being in this environment, like
Because
full time.
that next level, very competitive environment is very different than your home studio. Can you talk a little bit about, if you're willing to share, like what you guys did as a family to talk her through that and help her?
Well, it took us some time because she really internalizes things. So like we didn't really realize how much she felt that way until some time had passed and she would all of a sudden it would be this. I can usually talk to her and tell when something's wrong and she knows that. So when it finally comes to a head and she's like really upset about it, then 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 I finally would get it out of her and she would kind of tell me it was wrong and it just kind of, we just had to talk about it. We talked a lot. I mean, she called we text every day. We still do. And like that first year we talked on the phone more than we ever. She doesn't like FaceTime, so we don't do that a lot. But she does talk. So I could get it out kind of eventually pull things out of her that way. And then we would end up on the phone for hours, multiple days a week. And so it would just be kind of talking through it, talking like trying to remind her, why she's there, what she loved about it, what she's personally improving. Like, what does she feel like? What does she feel like she's improving with? What is she getting better at? What's coming easier? What are her struggles in class? Like, and really try to get her to not look at everybody else, like people that had already been there for a while, things like that. And she said she had to learn how to be like a horse with blinders on.
Mhm.
And that was just something she hadn't had to do before, really. That was what she had to kind of really work on. So we just talked about it. It was just a lot of talking.
Thank you for sharing. I will share that I still have quite a few conversations with my dancer. I mean, she's in her third year as a pro, and that confidence thing it's hard to get and it's harder to keep.
Yeah.
And so, keeping that conversation going all the time and keeping those lines of communication is paramount because they need the support.
Yeah. And she found friends there too that, I mean, super talented dancers that she would talk to, and they were having the same kind of things, and she was like, "You're feeling like this?" I can't believe that you're feeling like this too. But it wasn't, and like I said, it wasn't like anything. There's no demeaning comments. There's nothing, no really like inciting event. It's just sort of being in that competitive environment that just, it was different than anything that she'd been in before.
Yeah.
Sarah, did she take advantage of any of the resources that SAB has to offer? Like, I know they have a pretty robust wellness program. Did she take advantage of any of the therapists or any of that stuff when she
They
was there?
they do. She did not at the time. I mean, she did, but she did after her mentor passed because that was something we had to experience with her. They were really, really close. Like this was like her grandmother. So like she went then because she passed while she was away. So like she wasn't home and that was really hard to navigate. But as far as that part went, I know some people do. And I think this year she did a little bit just going through because this year was a whole other ballgame. This is
Mhm.
company audition time. And that was very different than summer intensive auditions, but that's another topic. So she did utilize that some during that. They do have it there. I think a lot of them do just to have somebody to kind of talk through this stuff with a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Erin, what about you? What were some surprises? What were some things that caught you guys off guard?
Well, like a positive surprise, I was surprised at how he really got a peer group for the first time since he was young because he started ballet at like 7 and probably got pretty serious by 9. And, we kept friends. We would try to get to the birthday parties, but like a show would be going on and it just felt disjointed. And he just got a really great group of friends. The moms, the parents became friends of mine. They like threw him a birthday party the first year that he was there. I just couldn't stand the thought of not being able to do it. And I asked them and they threw him this amazing birthday party. So like the community aspect, you're with all these other like-minded people. I would say the closest I found to it was maybe like meeting the other parents at YAGP and like trading information in the hallways. Hey, I'm looking at this school. No, I've heard this horrible thing. Or we didn't have all the forums that we have now. We didn't have this podcast. We didn't have, I guess there were some of the Facebook groups, but I didn't feel comfortable sharing on there in case, for fear something got back to somebody else. So finally having parents that I could have like real conversations with about whatever it was, next steps or this teacher, or what's happening in class. That was really, really nice. I really, really enjoyed that.
That's lovely. Sue?
think we had a lot of surprises. I would say the one thing, and I've heard college parents talk about this too, something that I didn't really expect is for us, right before he left, there was like a little bit of him pulling back. And you can see it on Instagram all the time. People will talk about it. They naturally pull back a little bit because they know they're leaving. And it's sort of this, and that kind of like was something that threw me off. But otherwise, I don't think we really had too many surprises.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that the only surprise that I really had about like high level full time training was the cuts. That was the thing that really surprised me was
Mhm.
Yeah.
just how many people who she started with got cut. Do all of the schools that your kids went to, do they all make cuts every year? Or once they're in, are they in?
I honestly feel like I don't know. I think that Houston, I wanna say, like, they make it hard. You might not get your housing, but they might not say, like, "You can't come back." I don't know. That's kind of my impression, but I have no accuracy. So, Brett, maybe you
Think
do.
So are
yeah,
you saying they like quiet quit you?
I
Yeah.
think they do. Yeah, I don't think they like San Francisco, like you didn't get asked back. Like it was
Yeah,
you
no,
are
they don't
not.
really do that, I
No,
don't
what
think.
Houston does is they will either repeat you and then, they'll have in their conference, it'll be like, have you considered college?
Yes.
Or have you
Yes.
considered going into they have that alternative track that you can do all the way through high school. And so that what they'll do is they'll start encouraging you to do other like to expand your horizons a little bit.
Yes.
And you kind of have to read between the lines, but I don't
Yeah.
think they just outright cut you.
Yeah, and I do know some kids where, like, they had housing and then they don't have housing anymore, so now if you wanna stay, you've gotta, like, find your own apartment, that kinda
Right.
stuff.
And Erin, you said NBS, they cut every year?
Every year. Every year
Yeah.
they do like the ballet exams
Uh-huh.
in front of the whole school, and then they make decisions which are not based on that exam, but they're the experience for the students to kind of have to work towards a goal all year. And then they put out a statement basically saying, not everyone is going to get invited back. Please encourage your dancer to be kind, all of the things that you would do anyway. Yeah, you get a phone call if they've been accepted back. If not, they do work with the families to get them into some other training. So some of the students will end up going to like Ballet Winnipeg, or they'll get them somewhere if they're from the United States, in the United States. So they facilitate. They're not just like you're cut goodbye.
Mhm.
And they finish out the year and they still work with the family. But yeah, they cut every year. I was really shocked.
What
Wait,
about
so they find out the cut during the year. So they still
Yes.
have to continue going to the school knowing they're not asked back.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. San
But if you
Francisco's was at the end of the year.
Okay, but if you think about it, being in a professional company, that is exactly what happens. And they
Yeah.
have to navigate that and audition and all of the other things. And while I thought it was really cruel at the time, I was like, this is just another crazy ballet thing. Now living it, I'm like, they really were preparing these children for what it's like in the professional world in as kind of a way as possible. Like they're not harsh about it, but it is the reality. Yeah, the students finish out the year. I think it happens in like May, so it's not a terribly long time, but yeah.
And Sarah, what about SAB?
So I don't, SAB's a little, I mean, yes, they have I think most people have heard that before because I've seen people talk about it on groups and stuff, but I think it's mostly the younger kids. I think it happens some in intermediate. Once you hit advanced, which is basically 15 and up, I don't think I've heard of anybody ever in the past 4 years getting cut from that age group.
It's like a
Um,
leveling thing, right? Either some people go to certain levels and some people go to other levels, or is that not a thing anymore?
Well, you could maybe repeat a level. Once you hit C1, which is where my daughter came in at, that's advanced division. So it goes like student division, intermediate division, advanced division. And then I know that I've heard of cuts from anything below that, anything below C1, right? But then you might repeat or you might move up, but like they don't usually repeat you more than 1 year. And I just have not ever heard of them letting anybody go once they get to that. I mean, unless maybe if there was like a disciplinary thing, kind of thing, which I haven't heard of happening, but theoretically, we didn't know that her first year. So it was kind of this constant worry, like, are you going to get asked back? We don't know, da, da, da. And then, over time, we kind of learned like, it's fairly rare, I think, for them not to at that point. By the time you're like 15, if you're still there, they think that you have the potential to be a professional dancer, possibly at New York City Ballet. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
they've already kind of made that decision by then.
I love that because the anxiety of the cuts every year is just, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It makes it really hard to navigate for sure.
And now a brief pause to hear a word from our sponsors. We are now welcoming reviews of year-round ballet school programs on Ballet Help Desk, whether it's a full-time program, after school, a conservatory, or a company-affiliated school. We welcome all of them. If your dancer has been part of a program, please consider sharing your experience. Imagine there is a family out there right now trying to make an important decision, and your insight could help them feel more confident about their next step. Reviews are completely anonymous, and it takes just a few minutes to complete. And let everyone learn all about the good, the bad, and everything in between. And back to the episode.
School, academic school. I know you guys all probably had different models that you were following. And Erin, you were talking a little bit about what NBS's academics were like. So I want to come back to that. But Sarah and Sue, what did your kids do once they got to SAB in Houston for academics?
Well, mine did what's called Washington Virtual Academy. So that's like you have to be a Washington State resident. So she had already been doing that part time because she like kind of learned over COVID that online school act not even anything to do with dance. It just mentally kind of worked better for her. So she went into SAB for 10th grade. So ninth grade, she did part-time WAVA. That's what we call it for short, WAVA. And then part-time, she went into the high school just because she wanted to have that high school experience a little bit. So she'd already kind of been doing it. So when she went to SAB, she just went full-time with that program. So it wasn't a huge adjustment that way.
So does SAB still have their thing with the Professional Children's School and with PPAS?
So as far as I know, she never used either because, well, Professional Children's School is the private school.
Right. And
So it's
so expensive.
very expensive. So we didn't really look into it. They do have PPAS as well, which is the public school, but that has been phased out, I believe. So they're not really, I think the timing, it just didn't, from what little I did hear, the timing and things just didn't really work together anymore. So I heard they were looking to find another public school option, but I don't know that that's happened yet. Most kids there do online school.
Really? Because it used to be most kids were not doing online school at SAB. So that's changed.
Yeah, well, because with especially with PPAS being phased out,
Right.
the PCS is just, I mean, it's financially not possible for some people. I mean, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And there's just so many options, especially since COVID for online programs. They've really taken off, I feel like. So it's just been a lot easier. And I think since COVID is kind of when that has really shifted.
Did your daughter have mandatory study hours or any kind of structure?
No, I mean, with WAVA, I'm like what they call the learning coach. So basically, I make her schedule. I'm like, okay, this is the stuff you need to get done this week to stay on track. They don't monitor it through SAB. They do have tutors a few days a week that are there that you can use if you want to use that service. So they do have that, like mostly math and English and stuff. But other than that, I mean, they have they like at the end of the year you can apply for their honor society thing where you got to send them your GPA and then they do a little celebration for you, but they don't monitor it.
And there's no study hall or anything?
Not like a defined one. They have a
Okay.
whole area you could go to if you want to, but yeah, not a defined study hall time or anything.
Okay. And Houston, Sue, I think at least when Sam was there was mandatory study hall for
Yeah.
anyone under 18, right?
That's right. 2 days a week. It's on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays for 2 hours each day. So there's like 4 hours of mandatory study hall. So Owen came from Rock, which they used to run it differently before Peter. And then during that time, it's shifted. So they changed the schedule. And like at Rock, that's where I was saying like it's more school ish, depending on which level you are, because they alternate because the academic room is not large enough. You'll have study hours, class, study hours, class. So it'll be like intermixed throughout the day versus like Houston study halls at night after the day is over. Owen prefers the nighttime thing. He is, in theory, he's like actually homeschooled. New Jersey has very little rules about schooling. And so we use Acellus is one of the online programs, which is quite popular amongst a lot of dancers now. So we use their courses, but I design his program. So I'm basically creating a transcript following what all colleges want on their transcript. And so he should be finishing up 10th grade, but he's about halfway to three-quarters of the way through 11th. And then he'll do his 12th grade courses. And then my rule is he then has to do one online college class at a time. Because personally, for me, I feel like once you stop, it's very hard to start. And like if he just kind of chips away at some of the gen ed for while he can, I think that that's really helpful. And so, yeah, so I hold a little power over him because I'm like, well, I decide when you're done.
And then NBS has like full school. Erin, can you describe how that works?
Yeah, so they have like a different teacher for each class, So, like, he started in 8th grade. So, he would get up in the morning, get ready for his day, go to ballet, and then he would go to school for like maybe 4 hours and they would switch classes. They go to the different teachers, they have assignments. Because they have to meet that Ottawa standard to graduate, I think that makes it even trickier with each year. Like they don't stack them. So you've got to complete 8th grade with your peers. You've got to complete 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. They have 2 tracks. So one is to get the Canadian diploma where you are like fluent in French and all of that. And then the other one, because they've got students from Korea and stuff that are
Okay.
learning it as a second language, they can take, it's got a lot more of like Canadian history in it. I don't know, it's interesting. But yeah, they go to school about 4 hours a day and then they continue their dance training later in the afternoon, or it just depends on what age and they are, how that schedule is. But that's pretty much, it's like maybe a little bit of a shortened school day than my kids at home do
Hmm.
because they don't have to do PE, they don't have to do some of those things, but it was a pretty normal school experience.
And then he finishes with like a high school diploma that had he wanted to go on to college would have been
Yeah,
absolutely
really
accepted.
desirable.
Yeah.
Really
Okay. When you were thinking about where he was going to go, academics were a big deal to you, right? And I don't mean academics because I don't want to discount the other academic programs, but like a structured academic program.
Yeah, I mean, we visited some other schools that were just like closer to home that had really great training
Hmm.
and didn't have an academic component. He just like Sue was talking about, each of our kids are so different. He is not self-motivated at school. He's very bright, but he would just do ballet all the time. Like of all of my kids, he's the most singularly focused. And so I knew one, if he didn't go to college, this might be where his education kind of goes. So I definitely wanted to make sure that he took the harder classes and he didn't take, an easier path. And if he wasn't at home, I knew that would be challenging for me. So this was like the best option for everything at that age. I wanted to keep all of his options as open as possible until the end.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And from the mother of one child who is not super interested in academics to another, I think that that can be fantastic for a kid who is not super self-motivated academically. Can we switch? I want to talk, Sarah, you had alluded to it a little bit before about how your daughter's self-confidence took a hit. And all three of these schools are known for being highly competitive, rigorous programs, really good outcomes, which all kind of leads to a lot of pressure. Like the kids feel a lot of pressure going in. It may not last, but like how much pressure did your kids feel when they were first there for the first few months? Sue, let's start with you.
This is my child who doesn't feel a lot of pressure. So just for context, he's my kid who like sometimes I want to shake him and be like, have a little anxiety. But he does like internalize some things. And I think for him, it just really it came at the right time where he needed to strive, but like the striving wasn't so far off that it was like something that would knock him down. Do you know what I mean? Like it just worked out that I mean, honestly, even with his injury this year, I heard like a friend be like, "Oh, you handled it like cool, like you were so cool, and like didn't even stress." So like, but that's my kid. Like he did not really struggle with that, but I do think like I could see how that could happen, and I think it just worked out for us in terms of where he was at when he entered, who else was in the program, and the fact that like he likes to be pushed. So, like, honestly, my son struggles more when he's not being pushed.
Interesting.
Like, it's
Okay.
almost like he's like, "Why does no one care about me?" Like, like
Yeah.
he understands corrections is because they care. They're not gonna waste their time on and so I've, like, beat that into his head, and so I think he gets more nervous when people aren't talking to him.
Really? So is it more like if he's not getting the corrections, if
Yes.
he's feeling
Oh,
unseen and all of a
yes.
sudden that makes him
Correct.
nervous?
Yeah, I think, like, I kind of, like, drilled it into his head from a young age, like, teachers when teachers are correcting you, it's because they see the potential, and if they don't see the potential or if you're not responding to those corrections, then they're gonna stop doing them, and so, I feel like I kinda, like, set that in for him from an early age.
How much like San Francisco, I think, and Jenny, correct me if you don't agree, but it felt like the pressure came from a lot of different places. It came from kind of from the top down, but it also came from the student body. Like there was just a lot of stress all the time with the student population. Is he seeing that at Houston from the other kids? I mean, I know the teachers can, it depends on who you have, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that in any school, I think it depends on your own individual experience. He's not like this superstar. He's a really strong dancer, but he's not like this superstar with the crazy feet and the extension up here, but he is he's really good at working in class. That thing where they talk about if you're only working on the variations, you're not prepared to work in a company, like he is the company kid. And so he's just had like he has not felt that pressure. Now he's going into his second year of Pro 2 this year, and this will be the year where he needs to do all of those things for and like he's only 16, he'll be 17 in October, but because of where he is in the program, he'll need to do all those things. And that I'm wondering how that's going to play out, and I don't have the answer yet.
yeah, that's young to be starting to think about going out on the post grad or the job market.
Correct, and I think, like, I think that they're gonna have him go through the process, but I think in their mind, they're also saying, like, they know how old he is, and, they actually took some younger kids into HB2 this year.
I heard that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
So, I don't know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was surprising.
it's not you know what though, it's not totally unusual because like when Sam was there, he was his first year of HB2, he was a senior in high school.
Oh, okay,
And
so there
there
we
were
go. Yeah.
there were a couple others who were like he's a December birthday, so he was
So Owen's similar.
young.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were like not he was not the only one that was young. There
Yes.
were
Yeah.
several.
And so in theory, like, if he got a spot in HB2, that would be his senior year,
Right,
even though he
exactly.
would be done already, but yeah.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
I know, right? I mean, you don't know, and so you go through
Yeah.
the whole process, and I look at it like it's a great learning experience, right? Like, all these
Mhm.
job skills that you're learning at a young age, how to, like, figure out how to make connections with people and contact and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's great. Sarah, you had alluded to the fact that your daughter was feeling some pressure when she first got there. Can you
Mhm.
talk about kind of what the pressure was like in the school overall?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really like so much from teachers. Like it was, I mean, she was used to the type of teachers she had. She really she went there because she'd be pushed. So that's why she went there. It was almost just like she just really got in her head. It was a more of a self pressure than anybody else. I mean, it wasn't the teachers, it wasn't the kids, it was really all in her head. And I don't know why exactly. I think she just maybe the pressure of like the whole she was used to 5 weeks of audition to get into winter term. I think maybe a little bit in her head, the pressure of now I have the next few years to prove I can get into City Ballot. That was kind of different and maybe a little bit more than she anticipated it to be as far as like something she thought about, because it does kind of become this constant audition for several years, which they get used to. She kind of you kind of used to it. But like So, I mean, that is one thing where she did go into company auditions this year, and she's like, "I've been auditioning for a company for 4 years."
Well,
Like
and it's all they I mean, I don't know if Sue and Sarah, if you guys have had that experience, but, like, it's all they talk about, right? All the
Mhm.
conversation at San Francisco at the end of the year was, "Who's gonna get moved up? Who's gonna not get invited back? Who's gonna get made trainee?" And then at Houston, it was, "Who's gonna get an apprenticeship at Houston?" And
Mhm.
it was like it just was never ending. So you're right. Like she might have been like, "Well, I've been hearing this for so long that it doesn't even
Yeah.
rattle me."
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely an element of that. It's just kinda something they're just used to, but at
Yeah.
first, it was like, they're all vying for those few spots, and I think the pressure of that, and I really don't know that it came from outside. I think it really was just her own, and since she does internalize everything, everything kinda gets worse, because she just doesn't let it out. So, like but I mean, it got better once she did. Once she did and started talking about it, that's when she kinda got through it.
To be honest, I do think there's a different level of pressure for girls because there's just so many more. And so there's so much talent out there. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome, but there's also, I mean, I don't know about the places where your kids went, but my kid was told every single day, if you don't want to work as hard as you can work, we've got 100 people who could replace you tomorrow.
Yeah, and I
Which
mean, I
doesn't make
think
me feel super secure.
yeah, no, I think that definitely I mean, she didn't hear that exactly, but I think it goes through their head for sure, like, she saw how many girls were that she went to summer with or whatever that wanted to be there and that she, could have easily also been there. So it definitely goes through your head a little bit, I think, of like and then especially when she didn't know for sure, like, she didn't know really if you got cut at that level, like, she had no idea. So it was just constant this kinda constant nagging voice at the back of her head is like, what if they don't like me enough or whatever?
Will say I
Absolutely.
think because my son was in the pro division at Rock for 2 years while he lived at home first, 7th and 8th grade, and I think he would have struggled more with some of this stuff had he not already had that experience. I felt like it was the perfect gateway. He got to do it. He understood, he saw all of that stuff. Obviously, it's not the same because you're not trying to get a spot in the company, but it's still a big ballet school with a lot of competition, but he was still kind of at home, so he still had that connection and then went away.
Erin, what about you? I mean, NBS is like a kind and gentle place,
It
but
really is. No, I mean, it really is, and he was finally with other dancers at a high caliber, so I think there was a lot of times where he would kind of hold back because people would be like, "Oh, he's showing off," or, things like that. Now it was like, "Work hard, we're all in this, and let's learn as much as we can. We have this opportunity." But I think one piece of pressure that maybe hasn't been touched on that might be valuable is when it came to audition year, now his family has invested all this money. There's been plane trips back and forth. There was an incredible amount of pressure to succeed, whether that's like go to Europe and get a contract, like the best company you can get into. You're coming from one of the most prestigious schools. And it goes back to just like when we were trying to decide where he would go to school. A lot of those decisions come into play too. Like he went to Europe to audition and he kind of realized, like, I'm 18, I've never lived on my own. I think that might be a leap too far for me. Like, I don't know that I'm ready to do that right now. There was all these other things, but I think he felt a lot of pressure to be successful, even though we would say to him and I would say to him, you can go to school, you can do something else, you can do whatever you want, just like with all of my kids. I think when your family has invested in you like this, and there is a pressure that comes with that too,
yeah,
for
no,
sure.
I think you're right. And I mean, I think for those of us that all have kids that are like in professional jobs right now or right on the cusp, I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but I did not anticipate the amount of pressure that everybody was feeling when they were hitting the job market. That was insane.
Yeah. It's so stressful. And
Hmm.
it's that they're all so driven, right? And they all are that type A perfectionist. They have such high standards for themselves. And what if I've gone through all of it? The doubt, right? What if I go through all of this?
The pressure to make money. Like my family does not have the funds to support this pursuit and love of ballet forever. There is a reality that comes with it. Like we, helped our daughter with college and felt like we could make the same commitment to him pursuing this, but it's not forever. And I started seeing things online, this trainee bridge stuff, which is a whole other conversation, can go on for years. And, just the realities of what a professional ballet career actually looks like in practice.
And now, time for a quick ad break.
Brett and I created Ballet Help Desk as the resource we wish we had when our kids were going through ballet training. Now we've got some exciting news. For a while, many of you have asked for an ad-free option, and we've been listening. We are thrilled to introduce the Ballet Help Desk Backstage Pass on Patreon. With your subscription, you'll get every episode ad-free. The full back catalog, remastered with higher quality audio, and early access to the episodes before they are released publicly. As our Patreon community grows, we'll be adding new ways for you to connect more deeply with the podcast and the Ballet Help Desk community. Subscribe today. See you backstage.
Now, back to the episode.
Feel like the school's prepared your kid well enough for the job market and to hit that. I know, Sue, you're not there
I'm
yet,
not there
but
yet.
Erin and Sarah, do you feel, I mean, I know they both do some pretty extensive stuff, what they've told us, like in practice, do you feel like, and this can just be a yes or no answer, right? Do you feel like they did enough to help your kid prepare for what the job actually is?
Yes and no.
Okay,
The practical ballet side of it, I would say yes. He really got prepared well there. And I feel like he's so lucky to have had that experience compared to other people that we've met along the path. I just don't know if anybody can really, really prepare you for it. It's so individual what each dancer's experience is going to be. Even if a director loves them, they may not have a spot in the company. Like, how do you prepare for all of the variables? They prepared him really well for the ballet stuff. And I feel like that's kind of what they said, but emotionally, no. And I cannot advocate enough for getting somebody for them to talk to, whether they want to or not, need it or not. Put it in place that senior year, that audition season. Wesley really didn't want to talk to anybody, but I like held the space. You know what I mean? Like it was there. You can sit and say nothing, but I want you to know because this is going to get hard at different points. And you're going to have to do this on your own and access support. It's challenging losing friends each year. I mean, they're going off to other places, just all the intricacies of it. I just can't emphasize enough that I do think getting them mental health support will hopefully help them have a longer, more sustainable career at this.
Erin, I'm so glad you talked about that because that is something that my kid definitely wrestled with too, is that her friend group changed every year because a lot of her friends got cut. And so, that mental side of having to constantly like make new friends is really hard. So having someone to talk to about all of that stuff is really paramount because it's difficult. And it's difficult in a company too, because, 10% of your company members go away every year, right? So, dynamics change all the time. And so preparing for that new start all the time, I think is really helpful. So I'm really glad you touched on that.
Erin, when you had Wesley working with somebody, was it somebody through NBS or was it somebody you found privately?
Yeah, it was somebody through MBS. So I got separated, and that was the first time, I let the school know this is going on in our family. This is something that you guys need to be aware of. And they like immediately reached out and were like, we want him to speak to a counselor like while he's going through this. And so when it came senior year, and I had no idea audition season was going to be what it was because I was like, we're at a great school. This is going to be great. And it was like, wow, it was hard. And so I just asked again. I'm like, is that something we can utilize again? And
Jenny's daughter and my son worked with the same person for several years, and it was a game changer for Sam. And he started working with somebody when he was in a really bad place at San Francisco and really needed somebody to talk to that wasn't his parent. And Sarah, it sounds like your daughter did some of that too at SAB, right?
Yeah, yeah. So when we were going, when she lost somebody, she did, and then she did again this year when she was going through companies. Because I mean, we can talk to her. I talk to her about it a lot, but it's different because as much as we don't pressure her and we're not like, you must do this, we've said every year, like, do you want to keep doing this? Do you want to go school, we're always like, you can stop whenever you want to stop. We're happy, whatever you choose, right? So, but even with that, I think she's still, I don't know if she can talk as openly about it sometimes. I mean, hopefully she can, but I think it did help. I did encourage her to talk to somebody else too, because she didn't really want to either. So, but it was like, she's telling me things, and she talks to me quite a bit about things, and but I'm like, I think it would just help for you to, learn some, like maybe get some skills of how to manage this from somebody that knows. I mean, that's not my job. So, like, somebody that can actually help her manage dealing with the disappointment or all of these things and the changes that are coming, because she is going to be leaving where she's been for a long time, and she has had a really good friend group there, so because they don't do the cuts at her point, so she is so very, very close with, like, there's like a group of 6 of them, and I mean, closer than I ever thought in that competitive environment you could be, really, and that's going to be harder than any other part of this, is splitting up from them. So I think you just need to talk to somebody that can give you the tools that I can't.
Sarah, you mentioned something interesting, and Erin, you had mentioned it too. And Sue, it sounds like Owen's experiencing it as well. And that is the camaraderie and the friendship. Because you hear like the stereotype is everybody's competing with one another.
Right.
But what I'm hearing from all 3 of you is that all of them established really, really strong friendships in a highly competitive environment.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's not really been hard for Owen. Like, I feel like he's always found, and I feel like they support each other.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And Erin, it sounds like Wesley found that as well?
Yeah, and I think he's always had that as well, and I don't know if that's, like, the gift of having a boy in ballet, from the United States. I mean, I think Wes and Sam met when they were maybe 10,
Yeah, they
and
met at YAGP finals when they were
yeah,
little.
and just immediately connected and could pick back up and follow each other, on social media. And he has tons of friends like all over the world that maybe they went one summer together, but
Mhm.
they're just kind of in this weird little unique experience together. And so they're just bonded really quickly. Like they all go away for really long summers, and we've never discussed that, but that is really weird in normal parenting times. Like my other
Yeah.
kids, go to sleepaway camp for 1 week. So 6 weeks for a 10-year-old is like crazy. So they've had a very unique experience. And I think that does connect.
I think you're right, but I do think it's interesting, Sarah, that, your daughter as a girl, where, it is arguably more competitive, it sounds like she has a really fabulous group of friends.
She does.
And
Like, yeah, it's been great. I mean, that's probably the one of, like, for me, like, one of the things that makes me happiest about her going there really is that she's coming out with that, and they did learn how to, like, be competitive, but in a positive way. Just because, like, one of her best friends there, she did get an apprenticeship for the fall, and she found that out about 5 minutes before my daughter found out that she did not, and they both bawled. They were both crying in the elevator because they were gonna have to split up. So she could be thrilled for her friend, but sad for herself simultaneously.
Mhm.
Nothing took away, it didn't take away from anything else. And I just find that kind of cool that they are all that close, that they can be so supportive of each other. And I didn't expect that really going in, like that she would come out with that. I mean, they all got matching tattoos before they're leaving here because they all want to, like, I don't know, commemorate their time together and just stuff like that. That, like, I'm like, don't even think I had a friend group like that.
I think
That's
that's
really
amazing.
special. That's so lovely. All right. So I think we're going to get into the advice portion of all of this since you all are now seasoned professionals at sending your kid away. If a parent came to you tomorrow and said, my child just got accepted to a residential program, I have no idea what I'm doing, what's the first thing you would tell them? Sue, why don't we start with you?
Okay, I don't know. Okay, I was like prepared to have a minute to think about this answer.
Sorry, hot seat.
What would I tell them? I would say that my advice is to really look at like the big picture of what your kid needs. And I say this is actually advice I give people about local ballet schools and schools all around. You're never going to find a school that is exactly what you want unless you make your own because you're not in control. So you have to know what are like the top 3 to 5 things that are really important to my kid. And then you have to kind of like embrace those, find the place with those, and then you can't complain about all the other things that maybe you don't always like. And I think my other advice is to, I think it's actually how we started, but talking about how no decision is permanent. So if you make the decision to try, no one there, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, so somebody can correct me, but I don't believe any school would make a child stay that is struggling, say with homesickness, or no one's perfect. But I think if you're in this industry and you're working with children, hopefully you have their best interests at heart. And I don't think anyone is going to look at a kid who is absolutely miserable and say, you have to stay here till the year's over. That could be wrong, but that's my guess.
Erin, why don't we shoot to you?
Okay. I try not to give advice at all anymore. I've burned myself before. What's great for my child is not necessarily what's great for yours.
I
But
agree.
I
I
would
always say I'm giving you information.
absolutely. And I feel like I'm in a sweet spot because they have a new director and I'm a few years out. So I can tell you what my experience there was, but I can't tell you what it's like now. And I think sometimes that's a good thing. But I would advise them to connect with a parent who has a student already there. You'll be able to ask them questions you maybe don't feel comfortable asking a director of a school because, again, you don't want any ramifications. It's those hallway conversations. So have somebody that you can call on the phone and ask all those real like nitty-gritty questions. Like, does anybody yell at them? Are they actually supervised? All the things that you're thinking, but you don't really want to ask out loud. Find another parent.
I think that that's great information. Sarah, how about you?
I guess I'd kind of say this. I mean, do a lot of research, and like Sue said, kind of know your things that you want. I would also say know your deal breakers. And yeah, it's not everything people say is gonna be affecting you, But if it's something that you think could possibly affect you, and that's gonna be a deal breaker right away, that'd be something to think about. But nowhere's perfect, so nowhere is going to have everything right and nothing wrong, and there's never going to be anything. I mean, I don't think that maybe that exists. I could be wrong, but
I mean,
for,
wouldn't that be nice?
yeah, but so I would say, like I said, go do your research, talk to parent, like I said earlier, talk to a parent of kids that if it's company affiliated that didn't get in, talk to a current parent, because those are they can be different questions and different perspectives. So get as much of that as you can, is be my advice.
I actually think what you're saying is really important because it is so personal. What is right for your kid might not be right for my kid. And, my kid could really be super successful and breeze through and have no issues. And your kid could really kind of have quite a few bumps and struggle along the way. And maybe they both graduate, but they feel like they had very, very different experiences. So I'll put in a plug for reviews. Please submit yours today. These are important because you do have to take everyone's experience as a singular and look at trends and then build your decisions from there. Is there anything that you feel like parents tend never to talk about, but they really should be like, it should get way more attention than it does? I don't know, Erin, let's start with you.
I would say like some of the small things, like at MBS, there's certain parts that they put them in, and that they like that student. Or, there's all these like unspoken sort of things that I never danced. I didn't come from the ballet world. I had no idea. And I'm asking my son, like, you think they like you? Like I'm just trying to get a feel for how things are going. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't give a lot when it comes to that. And then I would see him in class and they would put him in the middle, or they would, there's like all these tells. And I'm sure that each program has its own culture. And I am fascinated by that. Like, I love those things. So I think try to uncover some of those things too to get a feel that isn't just relying on your dancer telling you in detail about every conversation that they have with a teacher, because that's like a little bit of a pressure on its own too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where you can kind of get a feel for how things are going. I mean, we don't really know.
We never know.
Yeah.
I mean, having a boy, I'm excited if I get more than it was good. So
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of information right there.
I know.
Sarah, how about you?
Well, I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but like, I guess I would really say the siblings thing because I think that was way more to that. And like I said, I don't know that that would have made a different decision for us, but it would have been nice going in to know that my 6-year-old at the time would spend the first 3 years crying and crying and crying every single time her sister left. And I don't mean just when she left in September. She'd come home for Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, anything. I mean, it's just maybe this year that she's kind of stopped a little bit with that. I mean, it's heartbreaking watching, and that was heartbreaking for her older sister. That was heartbreaking for us. It was just a lot harder on them. And the other one's a boy. So the 15-year-old now is a boy, and he internalizes and doesn't talk about it. But I know that it's hard on him too. He just doesn't show it the same way as the younger one does. I will say, like, I think it was her first year in that I didn't even really finish the whole thing. Or maybe it was the summer before she went. I don't remember. I read a book written by the mom of a Royal Ballet dancer. And she mentioned how when her daughter went away to, I think it was White Lodge, right? So for the school year, her sister said that when she's away, it feels like life's in black and white. And it only
Mm.
feels like in color again when she comes back.
Oh.
And that like just was, I don't know, that was just something that we really tried. I really tried to be intentional to not let life be that way, so make really sure that we're, even though she's far away, getting them as connected as we possibly can all the time, so
Can I
they
ask
play
a quick
Roblox
question
together.
about that?
Yeah.
So, like, as a family unit, and Sue, I want to get to you because I want to get to your answer, but like, did you pause your life a little bit and feel like you could only do certain things when you were all together? Like, how did you navigate that? Because there must have been some jealousy on both part. Like, oh, you went there. Oh, I love it there. Oh, that's really hard. And they're off living their best life. And it's not that they're not, but do you feel like you had to reserve some things that you do as a family to wait till they got home in order to do them, in order to feel like you could move forward? Or did you do like some of those family traditions? And if they were home, great. And if they weren't, well, we're just going to keep doing them.
Yeah,
And
well, we did because, like I said, I was really trying to be like, I don't want it to be like our life only happens when she's here.
right.
I don't want her to feel like that. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what the book meant, but that's kind of how I didn't want her siblings to feel that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certain things that we do, big trips like Disneyland and stuff. I mean, we do over spring break when she's home or whatever, things like that. We usually take our trips at spring break when she is home. But there's other things that we do, like we go, we went to Portland, which is, a train ride away for like a basketball game or, things like that. And then any kind of traditions, she's not always home right when we would have those. So if we can FaceTime her, we do, we try to like include her that way, but we don't not do them in anticipation of her coming back. I don't know that that would be the best thing for my kids, and everybody's different, So, but for mine, we really wanted to give as much semblance of life is still the same.
Sure.
We're gonna talk to her, all these things. You can call her whenever you want to, but we're gonna like still do all the things that we've always done.
Sure. Sue and Erin, how about either of you?
I think, well, one of the challenges of Houston is they don't get to be home at Christmas because Nutcracker ends December 29th. So we have shifted. And well, this year ended up being like total chaos because instead of us all flying out on our flights that were already purchased, he flew home injured on the 23rd of December. So we did actually get to have Christmas at home, but the year prior, that wasn't the plan. And the year prior, we all went out to Houston and I adjust. So like I get a present that is easy to fit in a carry-on bag. Like I think last year, I don't remember what we did last year, but this year I was prepared with like Apple AirPods, right? Like they're easy to pack. And then we would have other gifts. So we'd have like our actual Christmas normal traditions when we got home, but we would all be out in Houston for Christmas because the first year, like Owen had just turned 15 and I was like not comfortable with him just being there at Christmas without us. But I do feel like my kids will make comments sometimes like, and we have not gone on as many family vacations in the last 2 years. And actually a lot of it doesn't have to do with Houston, but I think they'll make comments like, oh, well, Owen goes to Houston, so we don't get to do this. Or so that narrative is there. I just feel like as much conversation as you can have out loud with the whole family to kind of say, we make sacrifices for all different things. But I think that was hard. And I still struggle with the big family vacation without him, which I think I'm getting closer and closer to just going to have to suck it up and do it. But it was a mental thing for me. I have a lot of clients in my Pilates studio that have kids at college, and they're like, you just have to plan the trip. And I'm always like, oh, I don't know, so I think it's a little bit of a me problem.
Fair, fair. Erin, how about you?
So interesting. At MBS, you can do Nutcracker. I think in 8th grade is the last time because they have the professional company and the boys are getting bigger. So they saved those roles for the professional company. So I really didn't realize the Christmas thing until I went into a professional company. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he was not going to be home at Christmas, like ever. Like, is that we switch holidays because I'm divorced. So I already deal with that a little bit in my day to day life. And so when I don't have my other kid, I go and spend Christmas with Wesley and his company. And then when I do, I'm not there. So it's kind of a year on, year off. We have that. But yeah, my daughter is in law school and she can't come on our summer vacation this summer because she's interning. And I'm just realizing as they get older that that's maybe part of a normal trajectory of a family is that, especially with 4 kids, I have sometimes where I have 3 of them or 2 of them, and I really, really love when it's all of us together. When we can have those times, we're just so grateful and it feels so special.
I get it. I've canceled many a vacation because all of a sudden parts come up or things come up or, oh, I need to continue to train and I can't go away. I mean, so I get it. It's hard. It's hard to navigate. And so I just feel like this is going to be really useful information for parents because I do think that people get a little worried about that black and white and color thing. That how do we keep
Yeah.
a semblance of normal life for everyone else who's home but not make our kid who's away training feel like they're no longer part of like family
Yeah.
tradition. And that is definitely a struggle when they are that young because they have no
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex. They still
Yeah.
can't process a lot of that,
Yes,
right?
Owen is a twin, and his birthday falls on the fall break, and only a long weekend. He often does not want to fly home. It's a long flight. It's not horrible, but it's not short. But he has a twin, so it's always the tour. Like, because if he was not a twin, I could just say like, "I'll come to you for your birthday," right? But if I come to him, I'm not with his twin, and so yeah. I think it's just natural part of parenting, but with this ballet world, we're kind of thrown into it at a younger age.
Mhm.
For sure. We are super grateful for this really very vulnerable conversation. And we're thankful that you've all come on here and shared your stories because it's not always easy to talk about and talk about, really big family decisions that you made. And so I think we kind of want to end with maybe a little bit of reflection. And if you could write one sentence on a card and hand it to yourself on the day you dropped off your child, what would it say? See, why don't we start with you?
Everything will be okay. I'm an overthinker, even though I think earlier I said I go with my gut, and I do. But then once I get the gut instinct, I will think about it forever and ever and ever. And I think or maybe I needed it to say breathe. I don't, one of those.
Sarah, do you want to?
Yeah, I guess I will preface this with I like to call myself a realist, but I'm kind of in my daughter's mind, I'm a little bit of a pessimist. So, just in general. So, I will say that I would probably tell myself just to lead with more optimism and less focus on what could go wrong because in the end it's going to be okay. She's going to be fine. So I guess that's pretty much what I would say.
It's wonderful. Erin?
Okay. I don't know how to wrap it up quite like tightly in a little bow, but I think I would say something along the lines of like, you're the perfect parent for this child. You can make this decision for them.
I think that your thoughts and feelings and all of your end comments are such a beautiful place to leave it. And we thank you all for coming on this conversation. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for having us.
If you're enjoying the Ballet Help Desk podcast, please take a moment and subscribe, rate, and drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And while you're at it, don't forget to swipe that auto download button so you never miss an episode. Thanks so much for your support. Until next time, the Help Desk is now closed.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn ads.com today,